March 17, 2017, Friday of the second week of Lent.
A reading from the book of Genesis. Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he had made him a long tunic. When his brothers saw that their father loved him best of all his sons, they hated him so much that they would not even greet him. One day, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers, you know, are tending our flocks at Shechem. Get ready, I will send you to them." So Joseph went after his brothers and caught up with them in Dothan. They noticed him from a distance, and before he came up to them, they plotted to kill him. They said to one another, "Here comes that master dreamer. Come on, let us kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns here. We could say that a wild beast devoured him. We shall then see what comes of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to save him from their hands, saying, "We must not take his life." Instead of shedding blood, he continued, "Just throw him into that cistern there in the desert, but do not kill him outright." His purpose was to rescue him from their hands and return him to his father. So when Joseph came up to them, they stripped him of the long tunic he had on. Then they took him and threw him into the cistern, which was empty and dry. They then sat down to their meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels laden with gum, balm, and resin, to be taken down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What is to be gained by killing our brother and concealing his blood? Rather, let us sell him to these Ishmaelites, instead of doing away with him ourselves. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh." His brothers agreed. They sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. The word of the Lord.
The response is, "Remember the marvels the Lord has done." When the Lord called down a famine on the land and ruined the crop that sustained them, he sent a man before them, Joseph, sold as a slave. Remember the marvels the Lord has done. They had weighed him down with feathers, and he was bound with chains, till his prediction came to pass, and the word of the Lord proved him true. Remember the marvels the Lord has done. The king sent and released him. The ruler of the people set him free. He made him lord of his house and ruler of all his possessions. Remember the marvels the Lord has done.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to the chief priests and the elders of the people, "Hear another parable. There was a landowner who planted a vineyard, put a hedge around it, dug a winepress in it, and built a tower. Then he leased it to tenants and went on a journey. When vintage time drew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to obtain his produce. But the tenants seized the servants, and one they beat, another they killed, and a third they stoned. Again he sent other servants, more numerous than the first ones, but they treated them in the same way. Finally, he sent his son to them, thinking, 'They will respect my son.' But when the tenants saw the son, they said to one another, 'This is the heir. Come, let us kill him and acquire his inheritance.' They seized him, threw him out of the vineyard, and killed him. What will the owner of the vineyard do to those tenants when he comes?" They answered him, "He will put those wretched men to a wretched death and lease his vineyard to other tenants, who will give him the produce at the proper times." Jesus said to them, "Did you never read in the Scriptures, 'The stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. By the Lord has this been done, and it is wonderful in our eyes.'" Therefore I say to you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people that will produce its fruit." When the chief priests and the Pharisees heard his parables, they knew that he was speaking about them. And although they were attempting to arrest him, they feared the crowds, for they regarded him as a prophet. The Gospel of the Lord.
March 17th, Friday of the second week of Lent, the commemoration of St. Patrick of Ireland. The first reading comes from Genesis 37, 3-4, 12-13, 17-28. This is the story of Joseph. Joseph, who has 11 brothers, the sons of Jacob. Joseph is a favorite son of his father, and he's treated well. He's given a special coat. He's given special honor. And in fact, the kid is a bit of a brat because he has dreams in which he's honored by his brothers and even his father and mother. And then he recounts those dreams to his brothers. Of course, they're going to be jealous. Now, Jacob, who is inattentive and loves this one boy more than the others, therefore creating this jealousy, nevertheless sends Joseph out to find where his brothers are, almost as if he's a spy. The brothers interpret it that way, and they beat him up and throw him in a cistern, planning to kill him. But they don't quite go through the action. They end up selling him as a slave. Now, the account that we have from Genesis shows a bit of retouching, probably because the story comes from two different traditions. In one, Reuben is the hero. In the other one, Judah is the hero. In one, we hear about Ishmaelites. In the other, we hear about Midianites. Either way, Joseph is sold as a slave. He's betrayed by his brothers. We hear about a similar betrayal in the parable told in Matthew 21, 33-43, 45-46. A man owns a vineyard, and he rents it out to some people who refuse to pay the rent. He sends slaves to collect the rent, and they beat one, they kill another. Then he sends his only son. And in a very odd form of logic, they say, let's kill the son, then we'll inherit the vineyard. That makes no sense really, but the idea is that they kill the only son, just as Jesus would be killed, the only begotten Son of the Father. And the point of this parable is obvious even to the Pharisees who are listening to it. They understand that Jesus is talking about them, and they kill the son outside of the vineyard. Now it's very interesting. In the older version of this story found in Mark's Gospel, the son is killed inside the vineyard and his body is thrown outside. Why is that fact interesting? Because when Jesus died on the cross, he actually died outside the city walls, not inside. When Matthew and Luke copied this story, they noticed the inconsistency and they changed the killing to be outside the city walls. But when Jesus told this story, the original version of it, he had the son dying inside and then his body thrown outside. Why is that important? It's important because this indicates to us that this story is not an invention of the early church talking about the events of Jesus' death after they had occurred. This story was told before Jesus' death because there's an inconsistency in the story. If the story had been written after Jesus' death, they would have gotten all the details right, as they did in Matthew and Luke. Mark tells us exactly what Jesus said, and with this inconsistency shows us a very clear example of how Jesus predicted his passion. There are some theologians that say that he never really predicted his passion. He didn't know what was going on. Those predictions are just put in Jesus' mouth by the evangelists. This proves that was not true, that Jesus knew he was going to die. He just didn't know every little detail of the story. Because of this story, the Pharisees and the chief priests want to arrest Jesus, but they're afraid of the crowds. The crowds are able to see that Jesus has the very authority of God. Those who should have recognized this, the leaders of the Jews, deny it. And may God bless us.